because in that tribe there is only one family. All family is bound together by a great secret mystical tie, for they are all children of the one great spirit that dwells in the sky. And having done all these things, you will then learn the ways of life. You will learn the useful arts. You will learn how to help people who are in trouble. You will learn how to forget yourself in the service of others. You will learn how to be sick yourself, but while sick will serve the dying. All these things are part of the great mystery. And this great mystery is that we are here for one purpose and one purpose only, to grow. And the only way we can grow is to forget ourselves in serving others. There is no other way to grow. There is no such a thing as selfish growth. There is no such a thing as self-centered growth. There is only growing by sacrificing self to the eternal purposes of life. For you are all servants of the Great Spirit, and wherever the Spirit leads, you must follow. Whatever the Spirit demands, you must give. And there must be no doubt or question in your life to become a teacher of your people, a faithful priest of the great mysteries of the Thunderbirds. You must realize that you have now at this time dedicated your life out of your own keeping, out of your own control, out of your own being, and dedicated it completely to the will of the eternal. In having the will of the eternal, you will have no more suffering. There will be no more pain. For anything that the will of the Great One demands, that is beautiful and that is good. So now you have to come into the world, and now you have to create a new birth. And in the teen years between birth and adulthood, you must become again a new little child, growing up until in your majority you are born again into your people as a citizen. You are born as part of us. Now you are an apprentice. You are a seeker. You are one we are helping, controlling, directing, inspiring, instructing. But when that 21st birthday comes, or its equivalent, you will no longer be a child. You will be a grown person. And the moment you are a grown person, you are responsible for your own destiny. You are responsible for the truths that you live. You are responsible for the offers and orders that you keep. You are responsible not only for your own future, but to help in the futures of all who come in contact with you. So now the time comes for you to be initiated into the maturity of the tribe, in order that you may reflect and manifest all the good things that the tribe itself has to teach. Now, as a member of the tribe, you also have another problem. A woman brought you into life and gave you this body. It is now your turn to become a parent. You must, in order to be true to the Great Spirit, you must have a son or a daughter that will go on after you. Because as you are indebted for your own birth, so you have to pay for this by bringing another in and conferring upon that other all the good that you know, all the wisdom that you know. You must never turn from your own child to the perfection of your own luxuries or the fulfillment of your own ambitions. From the moment you become a parent, you take on the duties which the Great Spirit takes on for you. As the Great Spirit guides you in all things, so the Father guides his child in all things. All this goes on one after generation, because there is no other way. And after the time has come and the new child is born and grows up, then the mystery is repeated. He must also go out and sit in the silence, must do vigil, and must receive his ordination. Everyone who goes out into life must have an ordination, must have something. Now we say in this modern world these things don't apply anymore. They may not apply outwardly, but they do apply inwardly. For there is an outer code that caters to the physical life of things, but an inner code that is never satisfied except by the redemption of the spirit and the release of the soul. These things, therefore, there are two laws. The laws of the material world, and on your 21st birthday you declare yourself to be above them. And the laws of this world of soul and of spirit into which you are now born. Mistakes you made as a child will be forgiven, but these same mistakes are not forgiven after you have reached an age of knowing and understanding. And you must also protect this body that you have. You must never pollute it. You must never defile it. You must never abuse it, because it is an instrument by means of which you have the power to help, the power to serve, the power to give, and the power to be enlightened. For this body is a precious thing that has been conferred upon you. If you pervert it, you destroy it, or pollute it, there is some great pain. There is no way in which you can break the rules without pain. The only way to have no pain is to keep the rules. And if keeping the rules you still go through pain, it is the pain of understanding, the pain of release, and the realization that this pain is necessary to the perfection of your own nature. Now it is the young Indian sitting or standing in this group receives the benediction, receives the symbols of the membership in his tribe, and receives the proofs of his own ordination. And every child that is born into the world is born an ordained priest of the mystery of life. And unless he prefers to go into material things and sacrifice his natural destiny, he will continue throughout life to serve life, to give all to life, and to give it all not in his own name or for his own fulfillment, but in the name of the Spirit that then dwells within him, and that he may be found worthy by the great Lodge of the Sachems, the Lodge that sits in the sky. Now the young boy may be a little doubtful of some of these things. So the master of the mysteries, the old priest who is someday going to give way to him, says, "Come with me then, and I will show you." So they sit down quietly in meditation in the midst of the prayer flumes, and all of a sudden the young boy finds that he is outside of his own body. He is no longer in his body. And he looks, and the old Indian is standing beside him, and he is also out of his body. And he says to the child, "Come with me to the lodge of the great ones." So they go down a wonderful winding path and up the side of a very steep mesa into desert country. And there is a peak, and when they reach the top of the peak, there is the great lodge, the medicine lodge of the great tribes of mankind. And in this lodge there is every nation, every race, every belief, everything that is good is there. But nothing that is not good can enter in. So the young boy goes in with the master of the lodge and sees for himself the great ones who have gone before. The Indian has no book to read. He has no written record that he can tell. He has only the stories that come to him from the wise ones. And these wise ones' stories come down from the dawn of time. And there he sees for himself the great lodge of the sky, the immutable, inevitable victory of right over everything else, regardless of whether it is obvious or not. Here is perfect justice, but it is justice with mercy. In the lodge of the sky there is no damnation. There is no heretic. There is nothing except eternal solicitude, a great determination on the part of the great lodge to bring forth into perfection the smallest and least of all living creatures. And having been given the vision, the young man returns to the world dedicated and devoted to the fulfillment of the destiny of the tribe. Now that is the way it was understood in the old days. And that was not just a story of an Indian tribe. Because the Indian tribe is here on our own continent, the North American, Central American, South American tribes, all with the same essential teaching. But it is also the teaching of all the other religions of the world. The religions that teach that in a mysterious way there is a reason for us. There is no such a thing as an accident. Sometimes it may seem that in the generation of living things there are many accidents and many miscarriages of justice. But all this is an illusion. Behind everything that happens is the will of the Great Spirit. And the will of the Great Spirit has only one thing, to learn, to teach, that those who are taught may live to teach others in their turn. And so with this type of thought, we can come down maybe for a little bit to the modern way of life. how are our dedications? How are our convictions about these matters? Do we recognize every child that comes into the world as a citizen of eternity? Do we recognize them all as brothers and sisters? Do we recognize a common responsibility that we have for all that lives? Because in turn, all that lives has to accept the responsibility of our existence. As we have been given, so shall we give. As we have been helped, so shall we help. And if there are things that are not right, and the parents of the children or anyone involved, then we must go into the lodge and very carefully spread the white robes of the peace on the floor and call upon the spirits to relieve us of our anxieties. Every mother and father has a duty. Every parent, grandparent, all relatives, and even friends. A friend is just a little more distant relative, but the same thing is true. Until the world realizes that humanity is one family, there will never be an end to pain. And that was realized long before there were books, and it's been forgotten ever since there were great mediums for the transmission of knowledge. There has been no realization of the great purpose behind all of this, the great purpose that we are gradually being created into a race of heroes, a race of great spirits who can go forth to carry the wisdom of the ages beyond the stars, beyond the planets, not with mechanical ships built out of steel and mutated by various chemicals, but the great spirit of life itself, the spirits that come into birth, the spirits that come in to learn, and which must go forth in time to become the teachers of all that live. And each one comes with a lesson to learn and a gift to make. And those who are coming up now to their maturity, we may like to think of that a kind of a maturity of the world is coming with a sort of 21st birthday, and we think maybe that birthday is the beginning of a new century, that a new century is coming in which we will have something that is better. But when the time comes to celebrate the coming of this birthday, we can't do it with ice cream and cake. We've got to do it with dedication. We've got to do it by making a real purpose out of our own existence, and maybe thinking a little bit about the old medicine priest who never was able to write a word, who never spoke to anyone but a member of his own tribe, but became a tremendous power because he was a power of dedication, a power of giving to these young people the key to the reason for themselves. And until we give to young people the reason for themselves, we will still have juvenile delinquency. But if we once give them the reason for themselves, if we can once convince them that there is this great message and that we are all born to teach. We are all born to teach and born to learn. And from the learning we teach, and from the teaching we learn. These are the lessons of life. And that is the reason why education is nothing if it is not accompanied by dedication, by some tremendous internal experience. There must be an inward motion towards reality. Now we look at the young people of today who are not in any Indian tent or on the side of an old hill. Most of them do not even respect education because it isn't educating them. They don't expect education because they have none. They do not see any reason why they should be better because nobody else is. All of this tremendous verbal, written understanding from books. The professor gives a lesson from page 212. The child memorizes the page and gets the correct page and correct line and gets a passing mark. He knows nothing. He learns nothing. And the professor can do no better, because if he does any better, the relatives of the pupils will come down on him claiming that he is interfering with the blessed privilege of raising their children the way they want to. So we don't have much. But somewhere along the way, we must go back far enough to reach the future. We've got to go back to the point where we can find where the threads have separated and where we have lost more than we have ever been able to gain. Every child that comes into this world should realize that they have a magnificent opportunity to help themselves and